Welcome in, college football fans. It's that time again. It's time for the First and Long College Football Show. I am your co-host, Marcus. There's your other co-host, Mason. Mason, we're going to give them our top 25. How you doing today, bud?
Doing good. We've we're honing in. It's actually almost time for the College Football Playoff Committee to start releasing their top 25. Is that tomorrow? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it might be tomorrow. It's coming up though.
I think
But none of that matters.
It's usually the week after Georgia plays Florida, I thought.
Okay, so maybe next week. None of that really matters as much as the First and Long College Football top 25 anyways.
They don't know what they're doing.
That's right, we do. So our committee of esteemed professionals have broken this down and analyzed game in and game out, play after play from the first 8 weeks of the season, and we've got a top 25 for you based off of that.
Yeah. So what we do, everybody, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope that you'll go ahead and like the video. That's the thumbs up thing, and then hit the subscribe. It's like yay big. It says subscribe. You click on it. That's all you got to do ever. Doesn't cost anything. You don't even. It's so simple. Even some Florida Gators fans have figured out how to do it. So I'm confident that you can too. But what we were going to do today is give you our top 25, and the way that we come up with our top 25, it's a collaborative ranking between Mason and myself, and we each rank each team, top 25, add those together, divide it by 2. That's how we get our ranking. So we do have some ties in our top 25. That's every single week we've had ties. And without further ado, let's throw this sucker on the board here and let's take a look, see, and we'll kind of just go row by row here, and we try to keep it short and sweet. So stay with us here, and we'll move quickly. Number 25, we got them lousy, sneaking, no good Florida Gators. Just kidding, Gators fans, but it is you are playing Georgia this week, and I've got some damn good dogs behind me. Roquan Smith right here would never let me live it down if I didn't talk my junk to you Gators. So you get it. You get it. Number 24, Oklahoma State. Number 23, USC. Tied for 20, we've got Tennessee and UCLA. I don't think 20 – look, this group right here fluctuates more than any group, as you can imagine. This is almost a whole – every name in the bottom row here is almost different from last week. So Oklahoma State's coming on. Look, they looked lousy to start the year. They looked horrible. It looked like Mike Gundy may be on his way out or something. We didn't know. Well, here they are. They got a couple losses. They're right in the thick of things in the Big 12. Florida Gators are about to have a big matchup with arguably the best team in the land this coming up week. They're kind of hanging around. I think they're about to get turned into Bulldog bait. USC, they're just working their way right on down. Okay, fell off the cliff. They were in the top group. They were making their way out of here. UCLA has kind of stuck around this group all year. I think they were preseason. I think we had them like 18th, or I did. So they're right about where we thought they'd be. With a freshman quarterback and dealing with some of those issues, but as they have a good run game and a good defense, and they deserve to be where they're at. And Tennessee coming off the just gut-wrenching comeback win that Alabama had there in Bryant-Denny Stadium this past weekend. Tennessee was up 20-7 at halftime and just absolutely blew it. So got Tennessee sitting there at the 20 spot. Got to have somebody in there. So I guess we got Tennessee. And then we actually have a 3-way tie at 20, I'm sorry, between Air Force, Tennessee, and UCLA. How about that? If you could have bet on me saying those 3 teams tied at 20 at any point during the season, you'd be a rich man. What do you think about the bottom row here?
It's the worst row, I think. I think it's pretty safe to say
we
that's
successfully
the worst of the bunch.
Got the worst. Yeah, no bottom row is beating the row above them. That's for sure.
Yeah. So the bottom row is I think you coined it last week. It's the row of misfits, right? You got some that are trending down, and you got some that are trending up.
Yeah.
In this case, you've got Air Force, Oklahoma State, and Florida all trending up. Then you got Tennessee. I'm not going to say that UCLA is trending down. They've kind of sustained where they've been for most of the season. They're a top 25 team, realistically. Dante Moore, I think if he can get some stuff going, and he probably should be at this point in the season, then they're going to be a pretty fun team to watch, pretty dangerous team. And of course, USC is sliding. I don't. I mean, they've been sliding.
They're sliding,
for us.
and I don't think they even care. So
Yeah, I
why
don't
should
think
we
that they
care?
care. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I mean that's really all I got for those first six there.
Losers. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Bunch of freaking losers, man. No, I'm just kidding. So we got the fly guys. We got the fly boys tied at 20. The Air Force guys. Shout out to the forces of the air.
Hey, they got a tough game this week, y'all. Colorado State. Just, I'm telling you, that's gonna be a good game for them.
Colorado State, huh?
Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, you know what? Hell, I might watch it. I don't know. Some of these games ain't that great this week, so I might watch that bad boy. Louisville at number 19, tied at 17. We got Duke, not Duke, North Carolina, but Duke and North Carolina. Okay, not the city. And then we got 16, Mizzou. So Air Force is undefeated. They continue to go, unbeaten this year. They barely got away with a win this past weekend, but lo and behold, they did. Believe it or not, for a service team, they're actually the most efficient passing team in the nation this year so far. Their passing efficiency numbers are through the friggin' roof.
They throw it 3 times a game, though.
Well, hey, but by God, they throw the hell out of it 3 times. All right.
Yeah.
they throw it hard and they throw it far, Mesa. And they don't call them the Fly Boys because of the way they throw the football around. Let's just say that.
That would be really cool, though, if they just air it out.
Oh,
that'd be a fun team. That'd be a fun team. I'd root for that team. I'm an Army guy.
Dude.
I'm literally in the Army, and I would root for Air Force if that were the case.
That would be really cool. The Fly Boys are here, and all they do is just air it out. Oh gosh, that would be cool. Like, just raise Mike Leach from the dead, R.I.P. Just come run the air raid at Air Force. Gosh, we missed out on a good one there. We got the bird with teeth at 19. Louisville, they got a big game with Duke coming up, actually. So tied 17 and number 19 are going to be facing off. So we'll get a little bit of clearer picture there.
Yeah.
But Louisville just looked like doo-doo after they got beat by Pitt. So kind of hard for me to wipe that from my memory at this point. But hell, everybody on this page has got beat by somebody they shouldn't have, or almost. So can't hold it against anybody too much this year. Dude's coming off the loss to Florida State. Played pretty well. Score didn't indicate how well they played, I thought. I'm guessing probably get Riley Leonard back this week. I don't know. Maybe for a quarter and then they pull him. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think it even matters. I don't know if it matters for Duke. They're just a good all-around team. Just got outmanned a little bit last week. North Carolina coming off a friggin' embarrassing loss. I don't know any other way to put that. That was right on up there with the Miami Georgia Tech thing, right? Pretty embarrassing. Get beat by what was a 1-win team in Virginia. Got beat by a team that's not even going to make a bowl game. You got where you wanted to go. That's why North Carolina is why you can't have nice things, right? It just is what it is. But in all seriousness, I joke and I kid around and everybody, you get pissed off or whatever. If you're soft and snowflakey, I don't want you around anyway. But we joke around. I mean, Georgia used to do that every year, right, Mason? I mean, it seemed like every year, not maybe to that extent, but it just seemed like back in the day when Mark Richt was at Georgia, Georgia would always lose to somebody they shouldn't lose to once a year. And I think it's really just common for all college football teams. I think most college football teams every year will lose a game for the most part that they're not supposed to. And if you don't, then I guess then you did what you were supposed to do. If you win every game that you're favored in, that's just not how it works. So
Yeah.
you just never know. North Carolina got. There just ain't no never mind about it. The astonishing part of that was the fact that they just got lined up and got the hell beat out of them. That was the astonishing part. I would have understood it more if Drake May threw 5 picks or 4 picks or something.
Right.
But that wasn't the case. Mizzou, real good football team. We're going to learn a lot about Mizzou coming up. They've got some big games. I think Mizzou has got Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida left. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I think they've got all 3 of those left. So we're going to figure out what Mizzou's made of and if they're the real deal. What do you think about this group?
I honestly, I kind of wish that North Carolina, Duke, and Louisville were all like tied for 17, because that's how I feel, about those teams right now. I feel like they are all kind of tied in a way. That they're all still in it in the ACC race, and we got a matchup, 2 of them going on this week. Actually, Louisville's favored in that matchup coming up by, I want to say it's 3 or 3.5 points.
Louisville's favored.
Louisville is favored. It's a home game for Louisville, I believe. Hold on, let me double check that before I tell people wrong. But I know that they're favored.
You're right. It's Duke at Louisville.
It's at Louisville. Okay, so maybe that's why they're favored. Yeah, 4 points actually. So
all right, everybody, tune in Friday. I'm going to tell everybody right now, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mason, but I feel like this is the perfect time. We've got everybody's attention. You got to tune in Friday for Between the Lines, because all these lines we talk about and all this betting stuff, we sort it all out on Friday. Your boy here went undefeated last Friday, so you want to come win some money, and you want to be the guy that knows what's going to happen on Saturday at the college football party before it happens. Tune in on Friday. That's how you do it. Go ahead, Mason. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. So yeah, I'd really like to see all these teams, and we're going to see all these teams kind of face off at some point or another. And really what I've kind of come to realize this week is after watching everything is, there are levels to this. A lot of teams, like you mentioned, a lot of teams do get beat by other teams that they're not supposed to, in games that they're supposed to win. And that just kind of happens to the lessers, right? Michigan and Georgia, they're established. They've been doing this a long time. Ohio State, Alabama is having a down year, but typically, they don't really lose games, and still they haven't lost a game that they're not supposed to lose. Technically, Texas was a tough opponent, and they lost the game. It was
still
a good
can't
game.
Kill those tough bastards,
right? But you saw Tennessee had them dead in the rights, and Alabama came back. So there are levels to this. Just because you lose to a team you're not supposed to doesn't make you a bad program. This is college football. This isn't the NFL. That's why we love this sport. Moving on to number 16, Missouri. Guys, Missouri's a really good football team. I don't know if you've paid attention much past the LSU game, but this is a really good program, and you should be paying attention. I think they've got an easy game this week, and then they've got to go to Athens to face Georgia. I'm sure everybody will be paying attention to that game. But yeah, Mizzou's the real deal. And Georgia will have Georgia's full attention.
Yeah, I think so. Mizzou is as we were kind of talking about before we started recording today. We're really impressed with the coaching staff, and there's been some talk about their coaching staff being ranked really highly, and for Mizzou to do what they're doing with the talent that they've got, they're not a top 5 talent team in the country. Okay, obviously they're not going to be. I don't think so. Yeah. They got to have a good coaching staff, and they do right now. They've got a top 25 coaching staff in the country, and they got a top 25 team in the country. Number 15, we got them LSU Tigers. We got number 14, we got the Irish. 13, Utah. 12, Ole Miss. And 11, Oregon State. This is all right. So LSU is the most incomplete team of this group, I think. LSU and Notre Dame, they're opposite. Notre Dame's got a killer defense. LSU has no defense whatsoever. LSU has a killer offense. Notre Dame doesn't have an offense. Okay. So those two are opposites. And everything is still in front of LSU, to be honest with you, other than the 14 playoff. They can still win the SEC. They can still beat Alabama. They still have a chance to meet a lot of their goals. Notre Dame beat USC. I would consider that to be one of their goals. They've still got some tough games coming up this year. But Utah, Ole Miss, and Oregon State, man, those three right there are solid football teams for sure. Utah, very well rounded. Ole Miss, I don't think has a great defense, but obviously pretty good offense and a good play caller, obviously, in Lane Kiffin. And Oregon State has got some maulers on the O-line and a really good run attack with a DJU at quarterback who can definitely spread the field out. So those three teams right there seem very, very, very solid to me. And those are some season records right there, if you're asking me.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned season records and that team behind your back there, Georgia, they've got to face Florida this week. Then they've got Mizzou. Then they've got Ole Miss.
So much for an easy schedule, huh?
That's right. All of a sudden it's like, man, this is three top 25 by our rankings, at least, matchups in a row. So this isn't a Georgia Bulldog podcast, but when you mentioned somebody's going to come up and get somebody, I mean, that'd be the team to come up and get for sure. And Ole Miss and Missouri will be trying to do that for sure. But yeah, so Ole Miss been a great team at number 12, and I don't think that they'll be able to pull it through against Georgia, but they're still in it technically to win the SEC West. They did lose to Bama. They need some things to go their way. But if they could win out, that they could still win. And if Bama could get beat by LSU in week 10, they're still in it. Then you've got LSU. Let's go with LSU at 15. They're still very much in it. I still have them picked to win the SEC West. All they got to do is beat Bama, right? I guess that they would win at that point. I think you'd have a 3-way tie actually if Ole Miss wins out, because Ole Miss beat.
Well, Alabama beat Ole Miss head to head, and so if LSU beat Alabama and gave them a loss, then LSU would go.
But Ole Miss
Ole Miss has got the head to head with it.
With LSU.
Ole Miss got the head to head with LSU. So
yeah. It'd be a 3-way tie, but that's all to say, that's assuming that Ole Miss beats Georgia, and probably not going to happen. Anyway, so Notre Dame at 14, really, really solid program. I think that, they're just looking to win out at this point, go to a good bowl game. And they certainly have a chance to do that. Utah at 13, really solid program. Like you mentioned, just beat USC. And they're going to have some more opportunities. They've got an opportunity this week to go out and do it again and win a big game. So I'm excited to see what they're able to do under their new bona fide starting quarterback, Bryson Barnes. He's really fun to watch. He's just as fun to watch as Cam Rising, and I think that he's gonna go win some more games. And then you've got Oregon State at 11, who is really a complete team. They've been able to win multiple ways on offense, running the football, passing the football. Their defense is solid. They give them an opportunity to win every single game. And DJU has outperformed his former self this year and is playing really well. And they're a team to watch in the Pac-12 for sure.
Yeah, Oregon State, their whole season is going to depend on that secondary. And that the one blemish on their record this year was because of that secondary, and they ran into the aeronautical Washington State, the Washington State crew there, and they threw all over them and beat them that day, and that's their sole loss for the year. So it's going to depend on their secondary as their Pac-12 schedule is warming up, and I assume there's going to be a lot more attrition, but could totally see them beating somebody they're not supposed to and shaking up that Pac-12. And as far as Ole Miss goes, I just want to tell everybody, all the Ole Miss fans, I feel like Ole Miss fans are probably sitting there saying, man, I can't believe we only beat Auburn by a touchdown. No, you beat Auburn by a touchdown. That's it. You don't have to say only this was on the road. This is not a win to be ashamed. I am impressed with the win. I thought it was a very tough spot for Ole Miss, which is why I took as my one obligatory money line pick. I took Auburn and on the money line this past week, and because I legitimately thought they had a chance. So pretty impressive, honestly, what Ole Miss did, and the way that they play offense and win games. Really, I don't understand it, but that's why Lane Kiffin's getting paid the big bucks, and I'm talking about college football in my free time. So number 10, we got Penn State. Number 9, we got Bammer. Number 8, we got them Longhorns. Number 7, we got them Ducks. And 6, we got them Sooners. So the Sooners and Horns had a pretty tough week, right? They both barely escaped, probably with their heart in their throat. They both escaped by, a possession basically, and a 2-point conversion in the case of the Sooners. Oregon takes care of business. Alabama, I'd say, took care of business. Man, that was impressive as hell what they did in the second half of their game against Tennessee. And then Penn State, you can only discount somebody so much on their first loss of the year whenever it was to a top 3 team, right?
Yeah, that's right. I want to see some more from Penn State on offense, but that defense is absolutely killer, and they are as advertised, one of the best in the country, top 3 in my book in the country on defense, and they're gonna win them some games. Period. Not only keep them in games, but that defense alone will beat an Iowa or a team like that, like we saw. Mm-hmm. And then Alabama. I mean, look out, folks! Alabama's coming. That they're going to be a tough team to beat. I mentioned earlier, I still have LSU beating them in Week 10 and winning the West, but Alabama has played really well here as of late, and they're figuring some things out on offense. Their defense has been pretty dang awesome all year, and they're a good team to watch. They're a fun team to watch, and one that could really beat anybody with the talent that they have. Texas at 8. You mentioned, they struggled, and I'll go ahead and throw Oklahoma in here too, which I feel like we do quite often to just throw those two together. But both of them had tough games this week against lesser opponents and found a way to win it. And, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. There are levels to this, and Texas and Oklahoma, as of late, haven't been on the same level as Georgia, an Alabama, Michigan, and Ohio State.
Yeah, still learning how to win like that, right?
Yeah, to just shut down opponents that you're supposed to beat without your fastball. You got to win with other stuff. At times, and they were able to do that. So kudos to them. And then Oregon, hey, they've got a tough matchup with Utah this week. We're going to be breaking that game down tomorrow. So tune in to watch that breakdown, that preview. But it's going to be a really good game. Oregon's the real deal. They're great on both sides of the ball. They throw the ball well. They pass the ball well. Really solid team. They're pushing for another opportunity to meet up with those Huskies in Washington in the Pac-12 championship game and punch their ticket to the college football playoff. And they could certainly do that. They have the talent to do that. But yeah, that's all I got. Let's get into the top 5.
Top 5. Pretty predictable, right? Tied at number 1, we got Michigan and Georgia. Number 3, we got Ohio State. Number 4, Washington, and number 5, Florida State. Florida State was the most convincing, I think, of this week, considering who they were playing and all that type of thing. That was probably the most convincing Florida State win, I guess, honestly, this year. Yeah. Probably their best win. LSU was a decent win at the beginning of the year, but I mean, now we see how bad LSU's defense is. I mean, probably should have beat them worse, honestly. So I don't know, but here LSU sits in the top 15, so I guess it was a pretty good win.
Yeah.
Washington struggles, wins 15-7, doesn't score an offensive touchdown, not good, not a good look. But they, like you were just talking about, they won whenever they didn't have their fastball, and that's what it's going to take. You're going to have to win some games like that to make it to the college football playoff, and it doesn't matter how badass of a team you are. Them Georgia Bulldogs did it last year a couple times, in some games that shouldn't have been close, like Missouri, for instance, last year. Georgia only beat by 4. Well, guess what? Georgia goes on to win the national championship 65-7. Okay. So, it is what it is. It happens. It's college football. Ohio State just continues to win big games. I mean, you can't really take it away from them. Nobody has bigger wins than Ohio State this year. They just haven't done it in any kind of like groundbreaking fashion or just like amazing, offense. It's just not what we're used to seeing with Ohio State. I feel like people are kind of hesitant on this team a little bit to not as bullish as they have been in the past. But man, defense travels and defense wins championships, and this team's got defense in spades. What do you think about this top group?
Yeah, I agree. Penn State, they really proved a lot to me this week to put them in the top 5. I've been kind of down on them. This was a kind of prove it game for me against Duke, and they've got some tougher ones coming for sure. But but they handled it well. They adjusted some things at halftime and came back and shut out Duke, in the second half and ended up kind of blowing this one out, kind of blowing the doors out at the end there. And Washington, I'm not going to rehash that. They found a way to win, and they deserve to be in the top 5, top 4. And then Ohio State, huge win this week. I want to see them. I want to see Kyle McCord continue to do what he does in the fourth quarter and sustain that for a full game. And then they will be a complete team at that point. They're really not going to get tested again until Michigan. So it may be one of those, last week of the season. Last week of the season, and Ohio State's season is all of a sudden over with, or maybe they're going to the playoffs with one loss again. We'll have to see. And then you got tied at number 1, Michigan and Georgia. I think that's pretty fitting that one of us have them at 1, have Georgia at 1, one of us have Michigan at 1. These are the 2 best teams in the country. Nobody's really, arguing that. I mean, I guess some people may be arguing that, but when you look at it, 2 pretty easy schedules for the most part. Nobody's had an easier schedule than Michigan, but they're handling business in most ways. Georgia has had some closer games, but even in those close matchups and close games, it didn't feel that close if you really watch the game. And then Michigan, with a lesser schedule, they have just been blowing the doors off of folks. And we're just itching and we're ready to see them get tested one time. And we may not see that until the Penn State game, but just enjoy the ride, folks. We've got a long season. You never know what can happen. But as of week 9, this is how we see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we need to do, Mason, I think next week we need to, anybody who's tuned in right now, just go ahead and plan on checking this out next week. But I think we need to do a rehashed playoff predictor with our ranking next week, since we'll have some playoff rankings coming out. Anyway, so maybe we'll go ahead and do our first and long college football playoff rankings next week and kind of go at it from that angle, because we are starting to get to that time of the year. It's getting close to November. Right about the 1st of November, we'll start thinking about those playoffs and what all those, pieces are looking like as we get closer to that point. But that's our top 25 as we see it. And can't tell us no different, but you can try in the comment section, and I would encourage you to do so. So please let us know how we were wrong and who we've got mixed up there. We'd love to hear it. We know that you will do so. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to have all of our game predictions, breakdowns, previews, analysis, all that good stuff coming out tomorrow. So please go ahead and check that stuff out. And until then, I'm your co-host Marcus, signing out for First and Long College Football. There's Maserati Mason. Thank you, Maserati Mason.
Thanks. Have a good night.